We're going to have a lot of laughs dealing with this. Okay. All right.
All right, here we go.
Welcome to You're On in 5, The Art of Understudying.
The only podcast to celebrate the work of actors in understudy roles.
Understudying demands tons of preparation with minimal rehearsal.
Or sometimes none at all.
But it can end in triumphant glory.
In these conversations, we'll amplify the diverse voices of actors who have understudied. We want to hear about the artist's technique, experience, and journey.
As well as whatever's on our mind that day.
Welcome to You're On in 5, The Art of Understudying. I'm Scott Sava, your co-host. You might know me from understudying Rose Nyland in the Golden Girls Meet the Scooby-Don't Gang, The Mystery of the Haunted Bush.
And I am your co-host, Elana Elise. And again, I don't have anything you might know me from because I haven't been on stage in a long time.
To all of our detriments. And our guest today is the fabulous Rjw Mays. You might know her from Kingdom at Broken Nose Theater. Welcome to the show, RJ.
Welcome.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. We're so excited. Why can't any of us talk today? I just got jumped on in trying to use my mouth the way it's intended and ask you our standard first question. What was your first understudy gig?
Okay, so I'm not going to talk about the first understudy gig because it wasn't a good experience. But moving forward, they've been fabulous. So the first one I will talk about is The House That Will Not Stand at Victory Gardens.
Oh, okay. Did you have to go on?
I didn't.
Oh.
But I would like to tell a story about this connection to other understudy gigs.
Go for it.
If that's okay.
Absolutely.
So I understudied Jacqueline Williams as Makita. I didn't go on, but later I auditioned at Northlight for Skeleton Crew, and I understudied her again, and I went on twice, and then I understudied her at Steppenwolf for True West, where I went on again. So she's been that connectivity.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of my Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So when you, going back to the first one,
Okay.
because I'm not sure when that was. Do you remember when that was? Like year-wise?
I want to say maybe 2016, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you feel prepared if you did have to go on? Like, what Victory Gardens, like how they set up their understudies, did you feel like you were well supported and got ample rehearsal and could go in if you needed to?
Well, I think that at that time, I didn't think that. I thought maybe we should have had more rehearsals, but I did work outside of that, and I was off book. And yeah, if called to go on, I think I would have been able to go on.
Okay, that's what's
Yeah.
Yeah. Was there anything that you learned on that one that kind of set you up for your method for understudying?
I think, notes and blocking, and always see the show more than you're required.
Mm.
And I did that, and that helped prepare me.
That's excellent. I'm going to push back just the tiniest bit to see if there is any vague way, because I gather you don't necessarily want to be specific about that first experience, but part of what we're doing here is, trying to educate, right? Open some eyes. And if there are any bits of wisdom or, that are related to the negative experience. Because, we already know everything ain't rosy cozy. And so, maybe somebody can learn. I'm not asking you to reveal anything you don't want to reveal, but some takeaways maybe from that actual first experience.
Okay, so I think what made the experience unpleasant is that it was a lot of manipulation. I think that there had been a couple of understudies for that role that dropped out. So I came in right before tech. By the time tech was maybe within the first week of tech, I was already off book for the first act. Now, when I was asked to come in, I was given go updates. Okay. And so I'm starting this rehearsal process, but I'm not getting my contract. Finally, I was like, look, I need to sign a contract. And it was kind of hush hush because those dates that I was given to go up, they had decided to just cancel the shows those days. And wow, yeah, that wasn't a good feeling, but it taught me some things about the business. Contract first. It started, I began to ask if there were go updates when I was given an offer to understudy.
Yeah. Thank you. See, that was worth people hearing, I think, because we certainly have, some young folks who listen, young to the business and young in age, so, but that's why I pushed for something from that.
Yeah, that's good. That's fine.
Do you feel like now when you understudy, you want some guaranteed dates for performance?
Oh, yes.
So if there aren't any guaranteed dates, you will decline?
No. Okay. So it depends. It depends on what it is, maybe what house it is. I also try to be a little strategic with my understudying. If I know that just by watching the Midwest, Michigan, Indiana theaters there, Wisconsin, if a particular play goes on here, I know within a year or so, it's going to go on in one of those other theaters. And so I will definitely understudy a role like that because I think it'll give me a leg up if I want to audition for a principal role at one of the other theaters. Yeah.
I love that. I love hearing about strategy because, again, in our field, it's not something we're taught, to really strategize for our career. There's an extension for those who study academically. There's often an extension of trying to make them aware of the business aspect of it. But literally strategizing beyond just, paying dues, right? We're really trying to get away from the idea of paying dues because so many people go to school as long as anyone, to in any field to continue their employment or whatever. And I feel like if you studied, that's your dues. If you did, theater in college, you paid some dues, you're ready to enter the real world. But being strategic, with that level of awareness, because it's true. How many, that one year, how many Frankensteins were produced in the tri-state area, right? It's geez, why is everybody doing this? And that happens again and again with some of those popular shows. So I love that. Even for me, I strategize in certain ways, but I wouldn't have that specific thought, so I love putting that out there.
Yeah, definitely. I think, especially with certain shows, I had a friend who was a pianist as well as an actor. And he had been auditioning for, there's a musical, it's a two-hander. It's called Murder for Two. And it's a very specific skill that you have to be able to act and sing and play the piano. And that was a show that this person, he did it, I think in Milwaukee. And then all of a sudden it was happening in regional theaters. So he was able to go out and do it regionally as well. And yeah, to have that kind of role that is so specific to his skills is really nice.
Okay, so we talked about that first experience and then the subsequent ones connected to Jacqueline, who I adore.
Yes.
How many times have you understudied?
9 times.
9 times. So
Hmm.
rather than necessarily just be like, what was the very next one? Like, what are you, what do you want to share from any specific experience or in totality, etc.?
Okay, so I like understudying because it challenges me. I'm like freaking out all the time internally, but it challenges me to multitask at a greater level because you get the notes, you can see the performance, you know all the words, but getting it in your body. Getting it in your body and just like going out there and you know that the cast have already established this particular relationship and you're coming in and you just want to be able to add to that and for it to happen cohesively. And I look forward to that. I've had, outside of that one experience, every other experience have been par plus. It has been 100%. I've had great experiences understudying. At one point, I was like, maybe I should be a perpetual understudy and just understudy in this area for everyone of my type. And then I said no.
Did you see both our faces? Like, ah.
Yeah. I mean, it was just a thought. I was like, ooh, I wonder. And then I was like, no. One thing, I also think that understudying is such a difficult undertaking to learn everything about this character and never be seen performing the character. So I am a big advocate for understudies having their own audiences. I think it can happen. And I think it's very necessary to happen because we put in a lot of work. And we put in maybe a little more work than the principal characters only because we have to be on alert all the time. We have to be on alert.
Yeah, I agree. We were headed towards, Interrobang was headed towards that guaranteed performance specifically like right after opening.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't really get to hone it well because after the pandemic, we did a lot of co-producing, so we didn't really produce independently. So we were merging each company's policies with ours, but we had started like evaluating because not only does that give an audience for all that hard work, it also makes sure they're prepared. Right?
Yes,
if they do have to go in. So like it's all because you essentially still need to be prepared at the same point that the principals have to be.
I couldn't imagine not being prepared. I could not.
Honey, have you heard some of the stories we've broadcast there?
I've heard some of the stories and I've experienced some of those things as well in person.
Yeah. It's really terrifying. And that thing you say about being, for the rest of the cast, like allowing them to have their same show when you're not prepared, they got to be taking care of you, you know? And it's weird. Have you understudied multiple tracks from one show?
No, I've been fortunate enough, but Alana and Scott, I think I may say no to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not necessarily comfortable with that.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's great.
Yeah, or I could say if it's a main character and a smaller one, I might consider it. Mm-hmm. But if it's about the same amount, I have to say I'm not yet comfortable with that.
I can dig that. Have you done internal understudying?
So I did for in my granny's garden, the summer parks program with the Goodman. Mm-hmm. So I was an ensemble member and I also understudied Granny. That was okay. Yeah. That was okay. Yeah.
See, that's the one that I tend to decline.
Yeah.
I haven't. I'm not comfortable with that, and I haven't been asked for shows where it's like, oh, that's a role that's smaller than mine, or even, like it's just been like I have to do a lot of work for my role, and then I would have to do a lot of work, and I don't fully understand internal understudy. In my big age, I still just like, but then you have to shift everything in the show, like I don't understand why not just have externals, because that means somebody's got to, if I got to go in that one, then somebody's got to go in mine, then somebody's go in that one. Like it just, I literally don't understand it.
For a while, I thought that they only had people studying more than one tracks in musicals. And then I saw it happen in straight theater, and I was like, oh, no. I don't,
No, I mean, there are some things we have to say no to, especially if we know we want to excel, because we always want to do our best,
Yeah.
Tell us about any instances where you suddenly had to go on. Like, essentially, you're on in 5, get to the stage.
Okay, so I haven't had You're On in 5, but at Northlight, when I was understudying Skeleton Crew, I was only promised one go-up date. And so towards the end of the run, then it was said, I think Miss Jack has another rehearsal at Steppenwolf, and you might have to go up. And so I'm like, okay. And then I was still ready, but you had to still go over it again. So I think I found out maybe the day before that I was definitely going up the next day. But that's as close to You're On in 5 as I've gotten so far.
Yeah, that's still a little bit, mine have been, I've talked about one and not the other, but I've had 2 instances where I was not even in the show at all. And one, so one was for Second City in Detroit. Both instances were Detroit. One was Second City and one was at Matrix Theater. And so I was asked basically to learn the show overnight to do it the rest of the weekend. I did both times. The Second City one, of 3 shows, 2 were great. And then for the one at Matrix Theater, that went like stupidly well. Like I had no business being able to jump into that show the way I was able to, having not been involved at all. I had seen it, whatever, but I wasn't part of it, so I wasn't. But anything that I've been actually cast as understudy, I had one close call, but I got there and I was at work, but I kept my suit in the trunk because that role had wore a suit. And it was a locally touring thing. And so I was at my day job. I get the call. I was like, I got to go. And I got to where the show was going to be. And then the actor showed up. And I went back to work.
Oh, okay.
And they still paid me what they would have paid me had I performed, because I showed up.
That's good.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed that project, but I couldn't keep doing it. But that's the closest. It's never been like, in 20 minutes you got to hit the stage and do the show.
Right. I haven't had to do that as of this point.
Yeah, right? Like, it ain't over.
Right. I'm like, ugh.
We actually had that happen during the Golden Girls that we just did. One of our actors was not feeling well. He was there for fight call. But he was not able to complete fight call. So at that point they had to call his understudy. And she came in and apparently she was already kind of come to see the show that night. But she was totally ready. I don't think we had any put in for her because she got there at 7:45 for an 8 o'clock show. So the house was already open. But we had a lot of understudies go on for that run. And this was towards the end of the run. So we were pretty solid, as an ensemble, to be able to bring somebody in, and do everything. Oh, the one thing that's interesting about this one in particular is, so I, spoiler alert, I was playing Stan, who's Dorothy's ex-husband,
Yeah.
and I was also the haunted bush. So, um, so I was in this big like camo ghillie suit with like strings and brown and green and all over me. And there's one point where Danny, who was in the role playing Nancy Drew, who yeah, in our Golden Girls adaptations is one of the Golden Girls' friends, and she's also a very promiscuous woman. There's this scene where I, as the bush, am going into the garage where Nancy and Skaggy are Shaggy.
Right.
They just had sex, and I come around and I'm doing spooky things, and I have to go reach my hand over the couch and grab Nancy's boob, which when I was doing that with Danny, because he's a cis male playing a female, that was easy. That was great. It was like not much to do. I've known him for many years anyway. With Jenny going in though, since she's a cis female, it was like, we need to do a quick intimacy call because all of a sudden I'm grabbing an actual breast. So we did actually run that before we opened the house.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. Oh my
Oh, yeah.
goodness. I'm
Oh,
glad
yeah.
you thought you realized it before the moment.
Yeah. Oh, totally. So that was one of the crazier things that happened. I actually was an internal understudy on that show, and that's like the first time I've done that in a long time. And I did end up going on as Rose, and that was kind of crazy. I did have like a week's notice, and everybody was really supportive, and I had a whole weekend of performances too, which was nice. And the only reason I was understudying that role, we had an understudy drop out about like, I don't know, 2-3 weeks before tech. We knew that my understudy for Stan was coming into all the rehearsals. I was also assistant directing that show, so if I had to step out to like watch something, Al would go in as Stan. So they already had a lot of experience with the role. We were like, okay, Al is so solid that if I had to go on as Rose, Al would do a great job playing Stan. And that's what happened.
And did Al do a great job at the haunted bush, though? That's really what.
Right.
Well, the funny thing about that is too, it's kind of a mystery through the show who's the haunted bush. And I mean, you can kind of pick it up because there's only like 2 people that are not on stage regularly when the haunted bush is on stage. But it was me and Michael Miller, and we're about the same height. So it was pretty, you could still imagine that the other one would be the bush. But since Al is like 4'6", much shorter than I am. So when they came out, it was like pretty obvious that they were also the bush. But it worked out. It worked out fine.
Yeah.
It wasn't really that important that the audience be like, who's the bush?
Yeah.
It's more about the gags around it. So
that's fun. While you were talking, even though I promise I was 100% listening to you the whole time, I did remember. I just realized that I tell that Second City story, but I forget that it happened a second time at Second City. Because, like, I wasn't, so they shut down the Detroit location and rebuilt it in Novi, and I wasn't an understudy there either. And then I did have, I had an overnight, have learn the script, have a put in. But twice, Second City didn't hire me as an understudy in general, but then called me at the last minute when they needed me. And I don't mind saying the truth about that because it's nothing. It's just true. So
Right.
Now then, if I could bring this back around, I'm going to ask some more questions if that's okay.
Okay.
And I would like to know, when did you start acting?
So I went to Columbia College and got a degree. I graduated in 2006. This is my second career. I worked for the financial industry for 8 years, and I was let go due to 9/11. And I was then given an opportunity to go to school. I was married, 2 kids. My baby was 13 months.
Wow.
She was 13 months. And I'd always wanted to do it, but I always just thought it would be a dream deferred.
Yeah.
It just wasn't going to happen. I was going to dream it for perpetuity, and it just never was going to happen. And so given that opportunity to do it, I could not believe it. And then my professional career began in 2006.
That is amazing. I want, was it just a matter of this is the, normal life is what I do. This is what I'm a parent. Was that the thing that made it seem not possible?
No, I just had no idea how to get involved. I really just had no idea how to do it.
Wow. I'm very proud of you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I'm so glad. And I think the industry is lucky that you took that chance.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for that.
So earlier Scott asked you about things you learned, from understudying. You talked about take notes, how to pay attention and stuff. Is there anything else from specifically understudying that you carry over into how you operate when you're cast as a principal?
So I learned a little bit more about the business of putting a production together. Because, understudying, you're hearing a lot, not only what's happening on stage, you hear the crew talk, the production staff talk. I learned new terminology. I learned what different things were meant, how they worked together, how the music worked with the lights, that as a principal cast member, I'm on stage being told, do this, do that. But out here, I'm hearing a lot and I'm like, oh, what? Is that how it goes? Okay. So then doing principal roles, I know what's happening.
Yeah.
I had a better understanding. Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
I'm just, I keep, I'm having these moments of delight bursting through because, this is our 4th season. We've had a lot of conversations. Our first season, we talked to 12 people or something. And so the fact that we can still have these conversations and hear new stuff, different stuff, it's so exciting and it's motivating. I love the diversity of our guests and the diversity of experiences, not just cultural diversity. It's just it's just, that's why I keep being like this.
Yeah.
So I'm just it's just some stuff we haven't heard before. Oh. Scott, do you have any questions for our guests?
Sure. Yeah. No, RJ, what was your most triumphant understudy performance? What was the one that was the hardest to do, or that you just felt like you nailed?
It would have to be Mom in True West at Steppenwolf, again, understudying the fabulous Jacqueline Williams. And I think that was probably the smallest, Mom's role in True West is what? a half a second, it feels like. But a very pivotal part. But I think why it was the most triumphant for me is as me being a non-actor, the majority of my life, everybody has heard of Steppenwolf. And so I was watching a rehearsal in a booth one day, and I became overwhelmed because I was like, I am living my dream. I was so overwhelmed that I was about to go on Steppenwolf's stage. Are you kidding me? When I might not have known what the Goodman was, what I knew, had heard about Steppenwolf, forever. And so I think just getting out there and doing it, and it was a fast-paced scene, and it was with two actors that were renowned, one for television, one for major theaters. And I felt no intimidation. I was fired up. It was so much fun. It was exciting. And I think that was the moment that I knew I was doing what I was meant to do.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
I love that. I think it's time for a break.
Yeah, it's time for a break. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back with Rjw Mays. Hey, thank you so much for listening. We want to continue bringing you news stories of understudy triumphs and stumbles. So if you want to support our mission, it would mean a whole lot if you joined our Patreon at patreon.com/understudypod. You're on in 5. We are back with Rjw Mays. And now it's time for the breakdown.
Oh, that sounds so good. I must just be in a good mood today. I didn't know. So it's time. It is time for the breakdown. And RJ, that is basically like our question of the week, if we were weekly.
Okay.
What it is. So
Okay.
for you today, we are curious about your experiences in different size casts, right? And if you could choose what your preference would be. So from one person show to what's the maximum size cast have you been in?
Oh, let me think. Okay, so what's coming to mind is The Ridiculous Darkness. That was with Sideshow. I think that probably had the most
Like how many?
cast members. Okay, I think it was, so let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think it was 9 of us, and it was all Black women with a queer Black director.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
9. I've been in cast larger than that. I'll talk about it later. But so what was it, like a full-on ensemble show?
Yeah, it was a full ensemble show. I think it was 9. It might have been more, but I think it was at least 9. Yeah.
And so what's that experience like for you in contrast to a two-hander or small 5 people or whatever, Is there any difference?
Not really. That's what I was going to say. Maybe remembering everybody's character. That might be the most difficult thing. I think I tap out after 4 people, and then I have to use a little more brain work, memorization to remember everybody else's character name.
I could dig that. Have you ever done a one-person show?
Well, actually, I did a solo performance that I wrote at, it was for 3 Cat production, and it was called the Fat Black Sanctified Girl. It was just a one-night running. We sold out. It was a good opportunity to get a story out there. I had been writing it forever. I mean, even before I was acting. It was just more cathartic, more healing from that particular experience. And I happened to mention it to the artistic director, 3Cat, Jason, and he said, "Okay, well, you're gonna do it." But it's like he made me do it. So I'm glad I did it. It was a great experience. Yeah. So
is that something you think you would want to do again, just like a solo show, whether you wrote it or it was already written? Do you enjoy a solo performance?
So that was successful where there was a solo performance I did with that theater again that kind of didn't happen. It was like one performance. It just kind of didn't happen for various reasons. And so I would like to do one again because I like to win. And I need to see that realized.
Okay. I can dig that. I mean, from your trajectory, it's going to happen.
All right.
I don't know if you know this, but I know.
All right, then.
Scott, what about you? What's the largest cast you've ever been part of?
I think it would have to be Poseidon.
Poseidon, yeah, that's what I started thinking. And how many?
I think we had like 22 in that cast because we had all the characters from the movie, and then there's a whole chorus of people who are like watching the movie. And it's not so different from doing like a 9-person play or a 10-person play. I think what's the most different thing is the dressing rooms and just how like rowdy they get, you know. It's a lot of fun to have a cast that size when everybody has different, like they're like, or at the Chopin for Golden Girls we had like 14 people in that cast, and we had 4 different dressing rooms, and so there was like stuff happening in this one, and then you'd overhear something from over there, and that would make everybody over here laugh. So I really like that part of having a big cast. And generally I've been cast with very generous actors who are happy to give stage time and give focus and not try to, take all of the glory of it. And then for small cast, I did the one-man show, Here Lies Henry, and that was, it would have been scarier if I didn't have you as director, or B, Josh as the understudy, and Sean as our stage manager. Like it went from being like a one-person show to being like a small team show. And I'm not sure how much of that is just Alana and your collaborative spirit. But then getting into the run, which we only had like 7 shows because we were closed down by the pandemic, and that was really interesting to have my own dressing room to myself and not have to, like, it was like I've never really thought about like what I would do if I were alone in a dressing room to prepare. And it was really nice. I had my playlist for that show that I listened to a lot just to kind of get in character, and I would go over my lines before every show, because it was like 50 minutes of me talking, so you gotta go over that every time, and it felt a little lonely, but but again, I had Sean for all of those performances. Alana, you were there for most of them. So it's just kind of like, you take those relationships and, it's just a little different. Like Sean's probably the closest stage manager I've ever been too, you know.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So yeah, there's always a team,
Yeah.
and that's important. What about you,
Yeah.
Anna?
I was in a cast of 24
Mm-hmm.
for the Martian Chronicles. It was surprisingly pleasant with that number of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure I was the only Black person. Been a lot of years. Odds are absolutely I was, but I'm just leaving a little space for poor memory and time passing.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that was the thing that stood out to me about being in a cast that large. And maybe it was a little fewer than 24. Like, I know there were 24 characters in Martian Chronicles. Like, I remember that number specifically in relation to that show. Maybe there were 20 actors. Either way, it was the largest cast I had ever been part of. But the thing that stood out to me was just how pleasant it was. And like, we didn't all become friends. I'm connected to maybe 2 people today from that show from almost 10 years ago or whatever. And then I definitely did one with 13, which was my first interrobang show. That was 45 minutes long. And we had one dressing room.
Mm.
Just this big, so we were all in the same space the whole time. And again, that was a very, Martian Chronicles was ensemble driven, but it was, we were all characters. It was almost like vignettes, if you're familiar with Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury. But with The Argument, that was all ensemble in terms of not only the characters that spoke, it was a lot of like monologue, ish. No, that's not true. I'm just remembering a monologue. But like, it was there were 2 main characters, but like everything else, like the bodies, the actors created the storm. It was kind of it was a telling of a sort of Katrina type experience. So like, we created the storm and and some after effects, but it was all just very, very ensemble driven in a way that you felt like if any one of those people were there, then it just wasn't going to be what it was. So that being the focus kind of, it was a very collective experience in that everybody felt like their attitude was like, we're all in this together. Right. So like those experiences struck me because some of my learnings in Chicago were hard lessons in terms of like actor attitude. So like, coming from Detroit, we're so grassroots and almost everything was all hands on deck type of stuff. And before and between these shows, I was experiencing actors being very much more self-centered, and I don't even mean that in a critical way. Like, they're just like really focused on themselves, and that's what happens here, right? Like, that's just part of the culture here, which was different from the culture I came up as an artist in. And so that had me a little bit uncertain about what I could expect in these large casts, right? And then I had these very pleasant experiences, even though these casts were large, And so solo, I did a solo show with Impact. They were having that series for a while. And it was, before I opened my mouth on stage, it was as nerve-wracking as when I used to do stand-up, and which is terrifying, and I'm not a super nervous performer, but that solitude of being on stage, like that whole thing is like, I don't know if this is really supposed to be happening. And it's just terrifying. And so I did, but again, once I started, it was fine. And it was great. Actually, it was better than fine. And then I've done something similar to what you mentioned, Regina. Like, 'cause I used to just write, I don't know if there were essays. I don't really know what to call them, but there would be times just over my whole life where I would just write a narrative of some sort, and I have a file of them, and that file is literally called Things I Write.
Oh.
And I was with, I did a lot of stuff with Stockyards Theater and kind of an offshoot of some of the programming that Francesca Pepiot would do over there. And something came up And I know I didn't have any interest in like writing fresh, right? So I went into that file, which was nothing in there was ever intended for performance, right?
Right.
It's just some stuff I wrote.
Exactly.
And I found these two pieces that had been written years apart that I could turn into this sort of performance piece. And I ended up doing that, with whatever Stockyards was doing. And then I was asked to do that again for another little festival.
Okay.
And so that was fun, and I put it back in my Things Are Right file. But I thought, I just thought that was super cool to have something on hand that I could turn into performance as this little solo piece. And so I think I like it all for the most part, right? Like I don't think I would ever seek out a show that was like a very, very large cast as a matter of I just want to do that. But I my experiences performing solo I've enjoyed, and I enjoyed those two experiences of large cast, and I don't know if I'm ever acting again, so maybe a preference doesn't matter.
No.
I still feel like why am I talking so much? I think, Regina, you did this to me.
I was about to say I probably did, and I apologize. I have a gift of making people just talk. Yeah. I don't know what it is. I'm sorry.
Well, I'll say this much. It's time for props!
All right.
All right. And in props, we like to give props to other understudies or overstudies or stage managers, assistant directors, anybody who helps us get to where we need to be as understudies in particular, or anybody who's done a really outstanding job as an understudy. So, RJ, what you got?
Okay, let me think. Gosh. I've seen so many understudy performances that were great. Okay. I would like to shout out two people that I've understudied for. One multiple times and one time, but they're also my two closest friends in this industry, and that is Renee Lockett and Shariba Rivers. So I have understudied for them, and it's funny. Your friends that you sit and drink wine with on the back porch, and so I don't know, they made that comfortable, more normalizing, you know what I mean? So I'd like to give a shout out to them, and to Malkia Stampling. So I worked with her on In My Granny's Garden as the understudy ensemble role, and she made it so comfortable in making that transition, like during rehearsals, and it was some singing, and I was really intimidated because I'm not like a singer. I can sing about a 16th, but the ability to make, especially me, to make me comfortable. This was my first time doing an internal understudy, and Granny really sang. She could sing, but I could mimic.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
So, so I'd like to give a shout out to those three individuals.
Awesome.
Yeah, get props.
Yeah. Yes. I gave these shouts out, I think, already once this season, but I'm gonna because I worked with Second Sight recently for the second time. And this time I'm just shouting out Nathaniel Andrew, who was the lead artist on this project. And I actually got to see Rjw twice this past weekend, by the way.
Yeah, I know. And she told me all about it. And I was unable because I
Yeah.
was doing a stage reading. So I know all about it because I made her tell me about the visuals. And
That is awesome. But yeah, Nathaniel
Yes.
Andrew is such a, he's great. I directed him before. I'd seen him perform. I directed him and then working in collaboration with him, and his care for the environment he's setting up, for in Second Sight features writers, right? Like that's their focus. And so his care for the writers, his own writing ability, and flexibility as a collaborator, and just really ushering, these writers and their new plays through this experience at the DuSable, and through the experience of writing, through the experience of collaborating, through the experience of tolerating me. He's just really, he engages with such grace and patience, and I really enjoy it, and I hope we do get to work together again.
Yeah, he's wonderful. Good personality, and I've seen him on stage numerous of times. Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
That's props then.
Cool.
Okay.
So, RJ, to close, we like to ask our guests, what is one piece of advice that you wish you had gotten when you were starting your acting journey, or that you would give to actors starting out now, that would help them in this industry and in our craft?
One is to not compromise your integrity. And two is it is okay to say no. It's really okay to say no, and not carry that fear or burden that you won't be seen again because you said no to this particular project for whatever your reasons are. Those are the two most important things I would give to a new actor.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for that.
Thank you. This has been a blast.
Indeed.
So
Thank you so much
glad.
for chatting with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thank you.
Absolutely. This was a real treat. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. We hope you enjoyed our conversation today with Rjw Mays, and that it gives deeper insight into the art of understudying.
To send us a question or give a suggestion of someone we should interview, email us at understudypodcast@gmail.com.
Or hit us up at UnderstudyPod on Facebook and Instagram.
We want to thank all our Patreon subscribers, especially Marcella Huff and Stanley Sava.
If you want to support the show, head over to our Patreon at patreon.com/understudypod.
Our theme song and all other music are by Laura McKenzie.
Our episodes are edited by me and produced by me and Alana.
Thank you so much for listening. If you liked it, hit subscribe on your podcast player of choice and tell your friends.
And if you hated it, tell your enemies.
And their parents.
And their parents, if they're still alive.
Cut.
Oh, my God.
I don't even